Hey, what's up? So if you're a TypeScript or an AI developer heading into 2026, the tool landscape and model landscape is shifting very quickly. Agents are real, runtimes are changing, and the way that we write and maintain code is way different than it was 6 months or even a year ago. So today I'm going to walk through 9 different tools and trends that you need to know, why they matter, and how they're actually being used in real code bases. So first one I want to start off with is AI SDK v6. There's a lot in here. If you've used AI SDK, you know that it is kind of the de facto way of calling AI tools, creating AI tools. But there's a lot in this v6 upgrade. You're going to want to dive into how it works, all the different things that it has in here, agents, tool improvements, JSON schemas. So there's a lot in here to know about. So instead of wiring these together, V6 gives you a lot of ways to create structured agents, better tool calling, and just cleaner TypeScript across the board. Uh, if you're using LLMs to help you write a lot of this AI SDK code, make sure you prompt it to use version 6 and maybe even point it to the docs for the first couple months of 2026 until you get a little more examples in your application for it to pull from. So the next thing I want to take a look at is actually Vercel now supports the Bun runtime. Now this is in beta, but I'm pretty excited about using Bun for Next.js and other applications that are running on Vercel. One of the biggest benefits in here, it guides you through how you can set it up and use it, but you can actually call bun functions from within your Vercel server functions, API routes, server components, everything. So why that's beneficial is that you can actually use Bun's built-in S3 APIs, their built-in Redis, their built-in SQL calls. Uh, Bun is continually coming out with new things, and you don't need to install dependencies to do it. They have great wrappers, and you get a lot of performance benefits. So I'll be excited to see how this continues to play out past beta support. Um, but you're going to get a lot of better performance out of this, and Bun gives you a lot of great APIs to use directly rather than pulling in a lot of different packages. All right, so the next thing I want to look into for this year, there's been a lot of talk lately about this plugin from Claude Code, which it's really more of a concept about how agents can run for a long time. And it's essentially using a while loop or a for loop to run some AI agents or run your task, check if it's done, and then go back and try to fix it if it's not done. But then one of the huge benefits here is it can you give it a some kind of file or task list of all the things you want complete. It can go through that, and you can give it a lot of different things, and it's not going to get hung up on too much context because it will actually reset the context window or compress it down so that it doesn't have things from the previous task that are bleeding into the next task. And one of the ways that people are using this is it will actually go work on a task. It'll keep a progress log of what it's done, what problems it ran into, what it had to fix, and then it'll create, you can have it create tests for all the new features that you're building, and then it will commit those to Git. So then when it does the loop and says, okay, that first task is done, let me move on to the next one, it can go back and look at, okay, what are the things that I ran into previously that I had issues with? It can look at Git history to see, okay, what's been done, how did it get done, and it's not going to get bogged down with a really large context window because it has what it needs to go look up where it came from. So I'm really excited to try this out a little more. And if you want to dive into it more, Matt Pocock here has a great video on using this and how it works. All right, one of the next things I'm excited about is Mastra. Now, I know I've talked about AI SDK, and Mastra is similar in a lot of ways, but it lets you do a lot of the same types of things with agents, workflows, human in the loop. But Mastra, in addition to their um, great, let's see, their really cool developer landing page, right? You get a lot of um, built-in features and functionality in here, and you'll see there's a lot of overlap with AI SDK, but they can actually be used together. And they have this whole studio where you can build out, test your agents, run evals against your agents, see how they're performing, change the models, and then when you feel good about it here, you can actually bundle a lot of this into your application, and then you can take that and then use that same agent in your actual application. So this will give you a really good way to build out the agent, test it, plug it into workflows, and then in your code, you can then go plug it into the right spot, knowing that it will work just how you set it up. And you can see, you can go back and run evals in here. So I think Mastra will be a really great way to build out these agents and then put them in your application. Next up, Next.js 16 came out. So there's this was kind of towards the end of 2025. There's a lot in here, but one of the biggest things is um, TurboPack is stable, which means it's a lot faster for development builds. They have a lot of things in the next 16 release, but I encourage you to go check it out and see um, how Next.js 16 improves your code, and they have a lot of great tools for upgrading. They have code mods. Um, and again, if you're using LLMs, make sure that you point them to this documentation or tell it to use Next 16, and it can go create some of these newer features with the better caching, and you'll automatically get this, faster dev builds and faster production builds. Um, Next up, I want to talk through a little bit about kind of the top tier coding model as it stands right now. Claude Opus 4.5. So there's a lot of benchmarks and people using this. In the past, I've used this just for planning and then kick off some other agent to actually do the coding. But if you have the money for it, or you have the right plan through your work or whatever, you can actually use Opus 4.5 to do the majority of your work, especially in conjunction with that Ralph Loop plugin. It's going to get really good, and you can one shot a lot of different things. And that kind of leads me into the next thing, how the Cloud Code creator, he recently tweeted about how he actually the uh, uses Claude Code in a lot of his setup. So definitely check out his tweet and his whole explanation. Um, but this was a Reddit post about it that had a lot of uh, answers from him from the comments where people have asked about different things. But uh, he uses Claude Code uh, to build Claude Code and to fix issues in Claude Code. And, he'll even take suggestions on Twitter, go back and 20 minutes later, there's a new feature shipped out. So this team is shipping really quickly. They are honed into the developers that are using their product, and they're always coming out with new things that help improve the experience. So definitely check that out. Now, there's two more things left I want to talk through. Agents.md, um, similar to kind of a Claude MD file with Claude Code, but this works across more than just Claude Code agents. So there's not really a standard, but this is as much of a standard as there is, supported in Cursor and some other IDEs. Um, and then what I found is for Claude Code, if you create a Claude MD and just point it to the agents MD, it'll be able to read a lot of that and pull what it needs from there. So you can really keep one, whether you're using Claude Code, Cursor, or some other tooling. I recommend keeping up to date with your agents.md file, um, and make sure that you're updating this pretty pretty constantly, pretty consistently, so that anything that you kick off AI and it doesn't do a good job, you can add a note into your agent's MD or have your LLM say, hey, you didn't do a good job at that. make sure to add a note to our agents MD file. That way you and the rest of your team working on a product will get those updates and kind of steer the AI in the right direction. And this, if you get if you get this really dialed in, it really helps um, AI coding tools to do a good job. And doing a good job is somewhat, um, it's it's somewhat, not everyone has the same definition of it. So uh, as much as you can add into here, it will help with your team structure. It'll help everyone do things in a similar way. And uh, one note on that is this can actually help really in enhancing legacy code bases. And so one of the biggest wins with AI is modernizing legacy code bases. So you may have an old application or an application you've been supporting that AI just doesn't do a good job at. It takes a little bit of time to get it set up so that AI can understand how it's set up currently, and you can help direct it towards how you want to get it set up. So agents can map dependencies, they can add tests, they can migrate APIs, but really the biggest benefit is it can document systems that maybe nobody fully understands or nobody that worked on the project is still around, and you were able to take it over. So the big themes across all of these is that AI tools are no longer really experimental. They're in use constantly, and you need to use them in order to keep up to date and to stay ahead. So the developers who are going to win in 2026 won't be the ones that are chasing new models and trying every tweak. They're going to be the ones who can use the right models in the right way. But really, you want to build systems, rules, workflows that make AI reliable across everything you're doing, whether it's a specific project or you're doing multiple projects or you're working with a team, using AI, creating those rules, creating the right CI environment, creating the right tests. That's going to help you win in 2026. All right, well, that's what I've got to start off 2026. We'll check back end of this year or next year and see what's changed and how wrong I was about some of these things. So feel free to subscribe, drop a comment with the tools that you're using, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.